it's Moose, and thank you so much for joining me back here. 2020 was a rough year for a lot of people. Personally, it was the year I had my son, so it wasn't completely terrible for me. But reading-wise, I did have some books that I wasn't so crazy about that I'm going to talk about today. I've done my video for my top 5 books of 2020. This is going to be my bottom 5 books for 2020, my least favorite books that I read last year. Some of these might include some DNFs. There's one in particular that is a series that I tried to read that I couldn't get into that I know I'm going to mention. So some of these might be some DNFs. Otherwise, let's just get right into it. Let me just preface by saying this isn't in any order. It's not a tier ranking video. It's just in general, I didn't really enjoy these books in 2020. First up, I have the Water Song series by Amanda Hocking. This was the series I was referencing a minute ago. This is a YA book series. I don't know whether to call it a fantasy, a contemporary, which is part of my problem. This is supposed to follow sirens, okay? It's supposed to be about sirens. I like mythology. I thought that would be interesting. Even if it wasn't a straight up fantasy, I thought it would kind of have fantasy elements. But what this boils down to is a group of catty teenage girls who happen to be sirens, have a lot of drama in between, like with each other. That's pretty much it. The fact that they're sirens is kind of just like an offset point. And the majority of this book focuses on catty, boring dialogue that I didn't care about. I read the first 2, I DNF'd on the 3rd one. I just wasn't feeling it. I was forcing myself through these. They were not entertaining to me. It really read like a contemporary book, and I don't really care much for contemporary. I have one of the Narnia books on this list. I had 1 or 2 on my favorites list, but I also have one for my least favorite, and that is The Horse and His Boy. I don't really understand why that book was part of the Chronicles to begin with. Yes, it took place in Narnia, which I guess is what the whole Chronicles are about. Sure. It was super boring. I did not care much for it. I had to force myself through it. I was really considering DNFing The Chronicles of Narnia when I was reading through that one, just because I just wanted it to be over, to be honest. I didn't really enjoy it. However, I did enjoy a lot of the other ones. So I'm not saying don't read The Chronicles of Narnia, but The Horse and His Boy specifically wasn't good in my opinion. Up next, I have another series that I tried to read this year. I have The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I got rid of these. I read City of Bones and City of Ashes. I read the first 2. I looked up the summary for book 3, and that's when I decided, first of all, let me just say I never look up summaries. I don't like spoilers. I want to know as little about a book as possible. But I was really on the edge of DNFing this series, so I really just needed to know if it was worth my time. So I did look up a summary for book 3, decided it wasn't really for me, and I'm a little disappointed because so many people really enjoy this series and I feel kind of left out by not, but I'm not going to lie or force myself to enjoy it if I really don't, if that makes sense. Really, it boils down to the fact that Cassandra Clare makes you root for something within these books that I don't really agree with. It made me very uncomfortable to read it, and it's not just the fact that it's in the books. I can sometimes get past that. It's the fact that she is actively wanting you to root for what is happening. Like it's apparent that you're supposed to want it to happen as a reader. I don't really like that. I have a whole video explaining why I DNF'd this series. I'll link it here so you can watch it. Was not for me. This year I also read through a series of Unfortunate Events. That series has 13 books in it, so there's bound to be one that I didn't really care for. For me, that was the Carnivorous Carnival. For me, that was the Carnivorous Carnival. I listened to these on audiobook, let me preface with that. I do think the format that you use to read a book matters in terms of enjoyment. However, I've immensely enjoyed the rest of this series as an audiobook. I thought the narrators did excellent. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was easy to follow as audiobooks. This one really just bored me. I don't know if it was what I was doing while I was listening to it. I would often listen to these while I was cleaning or cooking or driving or whatever. But overall, I don't remember much from this one, except for the fact that I was just ready for it to be over and get to the next one so the story could progress. Along with that, my last pick is also another series of Unfortunate Events book, Airstats Elevator, which is book 6. This was a lot of waiting around. I would say. And this one, the Baudelaires go to a family member, a relative, who lives at the very top of a very tall building, and the elevator is broken, so they have to climb the stairs anytime they want to get in and out of the building. The house is huge, so huge that the kids often get lost within it, and of course Olaf is figuring out a way to kidnap the children. Like I say, this was kind of just a lot of waiting around, a lot of being in empty rooms, trying to figure out how they can convince their guardians that Olaf is, you know, after them, blah, 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 blah. Not a lot happened in this one, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The ending was very impactful and it plays a large role in the rest of the series, but this book itself was not one of my favorites. So yeah, there we go. Those were my least favorite books of 2020. How should I word this? Top 5 worst books of 2020, I guess. I didn't have a terrible reading year. I do feel like this list was a little easier to come up with than my favorites because I did include some rereads in this, and I didn't really do that in my top favorites. But that being said, I didn't absolutely hate a ton of books this year. Apart from the Water Song series and the Mortal Instruments, the other books mentioned within this, actually no, I didn't like The Horse and His Boy either. Scratch that. Yeah. Either way, I didn't have a terrible reading year. There were a few duds that I didn't really care much for. I'm not disappointed that I read them. I guess I'm more cultured now. I've learned a little bit more about my reading taste, what I enjoy, what I don't. I think reading books that you don't enjoy kind of helps you with that. Yeah, it's developmentally needed to figure out what you do enjoy. So I'm not mad that I read these. Would I recommend them? Series of Unfortunate Events ones? Yes. The other ones, maybe not so much, in my opinion. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe down below and leave a comment. Let me know, what were your worst books of 2020? Maybe I'll shy away from them if you tell me. You guys are awesome. I am so thankful for you. And we'll meet back here next time, guys. See ya!